The sky, for some unknown reason, seemed to suddenly darken, with thick clouds gradually gathering. Zhang Xiaofan withdrew his gaze, thinking that this place overseas was indeed different from the central plains. Just now, it was a clear sky with high clouds, but in the blink of an eye, it seemed to be turning into an overcast day. He and Tianyin had flown through the dense forest for quite some time, yet they hadn't seen a single member of the demonic cult. Finally, in a small valley between hills, Tianyin spotted a small stream below. After flying for half a day and feeling a bit tired, she called for Zhang Xiaofan to land. At the moment, she was washing her face with the stream water. The stream meandered through the ancient forest, shallow and clear. Many round pebbles lay in the stream, shimmering beautifully with the faint light reflecting off the clear water. Aside from some sandy banks along the stream, further away was dense forest. At a glance, the forest seemed endless. Xiaofan, Tianyin suddenly called out. Zhang Xiaofan turned to look at her, only to find Tianyin had washed only half of her face before noticing a beautiful stone in the stream. She reached out and picked it up, turning to Zhang Xiaofan eagerly, asking, "Isn't this stone beautiful?" Zhang Xiaofan glanced at the stone, which was no larger than a thumb, but it had 3 colored veins running neatly around it, resembling ribbons. It was indeed quite beautiful. He smiled and looked up at Tianyin, about to answer when suddenly, he opened his mouth slightly, unable to speak. That familiar, beautiful face, smiling at him. The clear stream water from her face washing still lingered, crystal droplets lightly resting on her fair skin, occasionally rolling down her face, carrying a gentle touch. They slid past her smooth and gentle lips, reluctant to leave, finally dripping gently with a touch of charming elegance. In her bright and clear eyes, long eyelashes were adorned with a few droplets, resembling tears yet akin to the white pear blossoms after the rain, exuding a delicate beauty. Tianyin scolded, "I'm asking you something." Zhang Xiaofan startled. "What?" Tianyin held up the stone to him, asking, "Is it beautiful?" Zhang Xiaofan took a deep breath, his voice low, but seemingly bursting from the depths of his soul. "Very beautiful." Tianyin nodded with a smile, took out a handkerchief from her pocket, wiped the water droplets off her face, then carefully wiped the stone before putting it away. Turning to Zhang Xiaofan, she wore the most beautiful smile in his eyes and said, "After we go back later, I'll give this stone to Senior Che. He'll definitely like it." The sky over Mount Flowing Waves seemed to darken a bit more in that moment. Zhang Xiaofan stood there, as if suddenly frozen, lowering his head, motionless. Tianyin took a few steps forward, realizing there was no sound behind her. Turning around, she saw Zhang Xiaofan still standing in place and moving. Surprised, she said, "Xiaofan, let's go." Zhang Xiaofan slowly raised his head, a faint smile gradually appearing on his face, but his lips seemed to tremble faintly as he whispered, "Senior sister, we're moving too fast. Why don't we wait for Senior Brother Cha and the others?" Tianyin snorted, indifferent. "Forget about them. Let's just follow this stream upstream. See if there are any disciples of the demonic cult and, incidentally," she chuckled, covering her mouth, "see if there are any more beautiful stones." What was it? A sensation akin to burning flesh. What was it? An urge to roar to the heavens. It turned out the demonic fire of the 9 abyss was burning in his heart, refining every bit of his soul and spirit ruthlessly. He lowered his head, his voice becoming somewhat strange and hoarse. "All right?" Amber and crimson intertwined around her waist, accentuating her red figure, becoming more beautiful. The two walked along the stream for another half hour. During the journey, Tianyin looked relaxed, scanning around, while Zhang Xiaofan silently followed behind her. The stream seemed small, but surprisingly long. After walking for so long, they still hadn't reached its source. Seeing another hill ahead, with a turn in the stream leading to a mountain stream, they realized the stream flowed out from there. Tianyin, feeling a bit tired after the journey, turned to Zhang Xiaofan and said, "Xiaofan, it's getting late. Let's go check out that mountain stream. If we don't find anything, we'll head back." Zhang Xiaofan nodded silently. Tianyin glanced at the younger disciple, feeling somewhat puzzled, but didn't dwell on it. Turning to walk ahead, the two quickly arrived at the bend in the mountain stream. Looking inside, they were surprised. Behind the rocky wall ahead was a huge cave, at least 10 zhang high. The stream flowed out from this cave. Due to the obstruction of the rocky wall, even from a nearby distance, one couldn't see the cave. It was quite secretive. Furrowing her brows, Tianyin said to Zhang Xiaofan, "Should we go in and take a look?" Zhang Xiaofan glanced at the cave entrance. Apart from some faint light near the entrance, it was pitch black further inside, making him feel uncomfortable. Over these days, especially after descending the mountain, he had entered two caves, the ancient Bat Cave of Mount Quozong and the Black Stone Cave outside ZhuXi town. Both left him with unpleasant memories. Now, looking at this cave, he instinctively felt repulsed. Coupled with his current foul mood, he said, "Senior sister, this cave doesn't seem inhabited. Let's go back, shall we?" Tianyin nodded. "All right, I think so too. Then shall we?" Before she could finish her sentence, suddenly, they heard a rush of air above their heads. Moments later, the sound of swoosh became incessant as many people flew over to their location. Zhang Xiaofan and Tianyin immediately looked up, their faces turning pale after seeing the attire of the people in the sky. They were members of the demonic cult, and judging by their numbers, there were no fewer than dozens. The two exchanged a glance, their faces losing color. Tianyin, being more alert, knew that there were many powerful individuals in the demonic cult. Escaping rashly would be difficult. In a moment of crisis, they had to take risks. She grabbed Zhang Xiaofan's hand, and the two rushed into the dark cave. Darkness engulfed their figures. Not long after, members of the demonic cult began to descend one after another. Apparently, their targets were around this mountain stream. Soon, someone lit torches, and the crowd began to move towards the cave. Hidden near the cave entrance, Zhang Xiaofan and Tianyin stealthily retreated further into the darkness. Their hearts were suspended in midair. At this moment, the power difference between the two sides was too great. If discovered, they would be powerless to resist. Fortunately, because of the large number of members in the demonic cult and seemingly no expectation of being discovered by the righteous sects, they didn't restrain their laughter and footsteps along the way, which helped cover up the slight noises made by the two. After a stop-and-go journey, they finally reached a spacious area. The members of the demonic cult stopped, and those carrying torches found cracks in the rocks around to insert their torches, indicating they were familiar with this place. The open space in the cave lit up. Zhang Xiaofan and Tianyin also stopped, hiding in the darkness where the light couldn't reach. They dared not make a sound. Zhang Xiaofan sneakily glanced outside, seeing in the distance, the members of the demonic cult formed a semicircle, each finding a large rock to sit on. Some looked rough, simply sitting on the ground.